The WNBA season starts in just a few weeks, and every notable free agent has found a home except one, Chennedy Carter. The same Chennedy Carter who delivered that notorious shoulder check to Caitlin Clark last June. While Clark prepares for her sophomore season with skyrocketing popularity, Carter's trying to explain herself on streaming platforms. She claims it was just basketball, just a little tap. But WNBA teams aren't buying it. Is this karma? Is it fair? Or is Carter being made an example of for how players should treat the league's new superstar? Let's break it all down. So we know Chennedy Carter has always been kinda up against the fence. We were speaking about this Caitlin Clark situation. We remember when she first got asked about this during a press conference, she stated that she wasn't going to speak on Caitlin Clark. Now we know months later, she still hasn't spoken on the whole situation. That is until today. Yes, Chennedy Carter finally broken her silence about the Caitlin Clark hip check. Remember that moment last June, when Chennedy Carter deliberately rammed into Caitlin Clark? The incident that would ultimately define Carter's career happened during what should have been just another regular season matchup between the Chicago Sky and Indiana Fever. Let's break down exactly what happened frame by frame. After scoring a basket, Carter veered sharply across the court, not to get back on defense, but with clear intent toward the unsuspecting Clark. There was no basketball reason for this path. The replay shows Carter blurting a few choice words, then eyeing Clark before delivering a hard shoulder check that sent the rookie sprawling to the hardwood. The deliberate nature of this contact was unmistakable to anyone watching. What's particularly revealing is how officials initially deemed it merely a common foul, a routine call that happens dozens of times each game. But once they reviewed the footage, they immediately upgraded it to a flagrant. The replays don't lie. This wasn't incidental contact during a play. This was an off-ball, intentional blow delivered after a completed basketball action. It's one thing pushing Caitlin Clark, and it's another thing blindsiding her. I don't think there's no justification for that. To be honest, we can be honest here. Clark's response speaks volumes about her character. Despite being blindsided and knocked to the floor, she simply got up without complaint, brushed herself off, and focused on the next play. No dramatics, no retaliation, just a professional getting back to work. Meanwhile, commentators and fans erupted in outrage, recognizing that what they'd witnessed wasn't basketball. This wasn't Carter's first rodeo when it comes to on-court issues. Her history of volatility became a major talking point after the Clark incident. In 2021, while playing for the Atlanta Dream, she was suspended indefinitely for what the team called conduct detrimental to the team, following a heated argument that escalated beyond acceptable bounds. This pattern of behavior had already raised red flags about her professionalism and ability to function within a team structure. Atlanta Dream did suspend her in the middle of the sophomore season, basically saying she was a detriment to the team and the team culture. So then the Atlanta Dream decided to trade her to the Sparks, the Los Angeles Sparks. The timing couldn't have been worse for Carter. The WNBA is experiencing unprecedented growth, with viewership and attendance records shattered, much of it driven by Clark's arrival. The league is rightfully protective of this momentum, emphasizing professionalism as it garners mainstream attention. In this environment, the Sky Forward's actions stood in stark contrast to the image the league is cultivating. Carter would later attempt to explain away what millions saw with their own eyes, but the damage was already done. The shoulder check wasn't just a simple foul or even just a bad moment. It represented a career-defining mistake that transformed her from a player with considerable potential into someone teams actively avoid. Now she is breaking her silence. We'll break it down in a bit. Basketball is physical, competitive, and intense, but there are unwritten boundaries that separate tough play from unnecessary aggression. Carter's actions cross that line in spectacular fashion, and the WNBA's collective response shows exactly where the league stands on protecting its players and its image. I said Chennedy Carter wasn't going to make a WNBA roster, and as is it, April 20th, training camp start for teams in 7 days. Training camp for a majority of the WNBA start April the 27th. Chennedy Carter is not on any WNBA roster. Wanna know why? Because it's Chennedy Carter's fault she's not on any WNBA rosters. Those unwritten boundaries Carter crossed have left her career hanging by a thread, and now she's scrambling to rewrite the narrative before it's too late. Just days ago, with training camp looming and still no contract in sight, she sat down for an interview with streamer Neon that has basketball fans everywhere shaking their heads in disbelief. Carter's attempt to explain away what millions witnessed firsthand is nothing short of astonishing. In the interview, she casually dismissed the deliberate shoulder check as merely talking smack and giving Clark a little "I'm here" energy. You know what's particularly telling? The stark contrast between this nonchalant characterization and the forceful impact that sent Clark tumbling to the hardwood. The footage doesn't lie. There was nothing subtle or routine about that contact. She stopped and went through, like, that is not, we've watched the clip. There is no way that we're letting this happen. Saying it was nothing, this is not just attack. What makes this revisionist history even more transparent is Carter's sudden claim that she may have been elbowed before the play. This convenient new detail, conspicuously absent from any previous statements, has been thoroughly debunked by video evidence. The footage shows no provocation whatsoever, making this belated justification ring hollow to even casual observers. Social media wasted no time calling out the obvious damage control operation. One fan's comment perfectly captured the collective eye roll. "You all seriously don't believe her, do you?" This reaction wasn't isolated. Basketball communities across platforms responded with similar skepticism to what many view as a desperate attempt at image rehabilitation. "This is crazy and this changes everything, because all this time we've been waiting on Chennedy Carter to take responsibility for what she did to Caitlin Clark. It shows me, I ain't even gotta watch all this footage right here, but I am gonna look at it, but it's showing me right now that she still is not taking responsibility for her actions. She's finna blame this whole situation on Caitlin Clark supposedly talking smack to her." The timing couldn't be more transparent. With the 2025 training camp fast approaching and Carter still unsigned, this interview looks less like setting the record straight and more like an emergency PR campaign. After months of silence about the incident, Carter suddenly feels compelled to offer her perspective just as teams are finalizing their rosters. The connection isn't exactly subtle. Perhaps the most revealing aspect of Carter's rehabilitation tour is her complete reversal on Clark's abilities. Remember when she questioned what Clark brings to the table beside three-point shooting? That dismissive tone has magically transformed into praise, with Carter now referring to the Fever star as a great player, and even comparing her to LeBron James. This dramatic shift in rhetoric suggests less of a genuine change of heart and more of a calculated strategy to appear reasonable and remorseful without actually accepting responsibility. Basketball analysts have pointed out how Carter's explanation fundamentally mischaracterizes normal physicality in professional basketball. One analyst cut straight to the heart of the issue. Carter's actions weren't just unsportsmanlike. They represented a threat to the league's brightest star and its future. There's a world of difference between competitive physical play and deliberately targeting another player after the whistle. What Carter still doesn't seem to grasp is that her problem isn't just the incident itself, it's her continued inability to take genuine accountability. By downplaying the severity of her actions and attempting to introduce fictional provocations, she's reinforcing the exact concerns that have made teams hesitant to sign her. Chennedy Carter just jumped out the window and justify an assault on Caitlin Clark. The interview has accomplished the opposite of its likely intended purpose. Instead of rehabilitating her image, it has further cemented the perception that Carter struggles with accountability and may not be a reliable teammate. Talent has never been Carter's issue. She's proven herself capable of scoring at the highest level. But talent alone isn't enough when questions about character and team chemistry loom this large. Basketball is ultimately a team sport built on trust. When a player shows they're willing to target a star opponent with a non-basketball play and then refuse to take responsibility for it months later, it raises serious red flags about how they'll function within a team environment. Carter's attempt to reframe the narrative has only emphasized why she remains unsigned, while players with less raw talent have secure roster spots. The basketball world operates on an unwritten code that separates tough competitors from problematic teammates, and right now, Carter is experiencing something almost unprecedented in WNBA history. In a league constantly searching for offensive firepower, a player who averaged 17.5 points per game last season remains completely unsigned with training camps opening in just days. This speaks volumes about how front offices truly view her actions. What's particularly revealing is the Chicago Sky's decision to not even offer Carter a qualifying contract. Think about that for a second. They let their leading scorer walk away without attempting to retain her or get anything in return. In professional basketball, teams simply don't allow top offensive talents to leave unless there are serious underlying issues that outweigh their on-court production. I mean, she can score with the lights out. I mean, she can. She's pure offense, a pure shooting guard, scoring guard. Instant offense. But if you're a team, do you really want her on the team? I wouldn't. When pressed about the decision, Chicago Sky GM Jeff Pagliocca carefully crafted his response, stating that changes to the team's staff and roster impacted Carter's fit, framing the move as giving her the best opportunity as a free agent. This calculated corporate speak barely conceals the real story. Behind closed doors, reports indicate significant locker room tension and concerns that Carter's presence was creating an environment detrimental to team cohesion. The most damning assessment comes from an anonymous WNBA executive who didn't mince words. They wouldn't touch her with a 10-foot pole. This brutal honesty reveals just how toxic Carter's reputation has become throughout the league. When executives are willing to make such statements, even anonymously, it signals a player has crossed from being merely controversial to becoming radioactive. These concerns extend beyond just one incident with Clark. Teams are worried about Carter's overall impact on their ability to attract and retain other free agents. In today's WNBA, where player movement and roster building are increasingly sophisticated, no team wants to risk signing a player who might drive away other talent or disrupt carefully constructed team chemistry. What makes this situation particularly striking is that the WNBA is experiencing unprecedented growth and attention. With new broadcasting deals, increased corporate sponsorships, and exploding viewership, the league is intensely focused on capitalizing on this momentum. Reports suggest the WNBA is considering implementing stricter rules for player conduct, specifically in response to incidents like Carter's flagrant foul. The message is clear. The league will protect its image and its stars during this critical growth period. Carter's situation differs significantly from other players who've received second chances after misconduct. The combination of factors working against her is unique. The high-profile victim, the lack of genuine accountability, the repeated pattern of behavior dating back to her suspension from the Atlanta Dream, and the timing amid the league's expansion. While some players have overcome similar issues, they typically demonstrated sincere contrition and a willingness to change. The most telling aspect of Carter's situation isn't the absence of a contract. It's the complete silence from all 12 franchises. Not a workout invitation, not a training camp opportunity, not even rumors of interest. This collective judgment represents something far more significant than punishment for a single flagrant foul. It's a league-wide verdict on her character and professionalism, to an extent, like you can criticize, especially on the court with somebody 100% cheap shots, your favorite player. There's a level of going, we all know it can be Carter went way too far. We can be honest here, it did go way too far with Kennedy. Basketball executives understand that talent alone doesn't win championships. Team dynamics, locker room culture, and player relationships matter enormously in a sport where 5 people must function as a cohesive unit. Carter's situation demonstrates how quickly a promising career can unravel when a player develops a reputation for putting personal vendettas above team success. As the WNBA prepares for what promises to be its most watched season ever, the contrast between its brightest star and its most notable absence couldn't be more striking. While Clark's star power fuels this unprecedented growth, Carter's absence serves as a powerful reminder that talent alone isn't enough. The league has made its priorities crystal clear, protecting the professionals who embody its values and vision for the future, even if it means leaving scoring talent on the sidelines.